human being with critical thinking, human being with critical thinking, human being with critical thinking, human being with critical thinking.
Okay, with that intro, I welcome you once again to the Critical Thinking Corner. This morning, a friend, a brother, sent me an article on WhatsApp, and I read through, and thankfully, the man who wrote the article, I'm going to share it with you. He left his contact. I'm yet to contact him. I'm going to contact him. He left his contact details, his Facebook handle, his WhatsApp number, his Instagram, all of that he left. And I am going to personally contact this man that I'm talking about. So, but before I do that, I want to share with you the write-up. So I'm going to go to the man's Facebook page so that we can all read it together. Here is the article. His name is, I don't know him. I've never met him. I never even heard of his name. But here is the name, Moses Oludele Idowu. I hope you can see it very clearly on your screen. The article is a little bit lengthy, and I understand that most people don't want to use their intellectual powers. They just don't want to do anything like reading. But you will bear with me, and I believe that if you're even watching this video, it's because you love critical thinking. You like to exercise your intellectual power. So let's go together through this article. It's a commentary. So the title is When a Government Cannot Think. When a government cannot think. Now, before I move forward, I want to say that I shouldn't be the one to be doing this kind of thing. There are elders, there are people that are older than me that should be fighting for our future and for the future of our children. But since it looks like, that's not the case, that's why somebody as young as me will have to step up. In case anybody is wondering, what's wrong with you? Well, what is wrong with me is that I do not want my children, I don't want their future to be mortgaged. And I certainly don't want the future of the Church of Christ to be mortgaged. So that's why I have to do this thing when it seems people are not willing to do it. So let's do it. So let's read. When a government cannot think. On the 18-year age limit for WAEC and NECO policy. The 18-year age limit for WAEC and NECO. There's a policy, government policy, that has now said our children cannot write their final year exam in secondary school, in high school, whether it's by the one organized by WAEC or by NECO. They cannot write that until they are 18 years old, by Moses Oludele Idowu. So he is quoting, government is the problem, not the answer. This is by Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, a former US president on the platform of the Republican Party. There is one thing about APC. I'm reading Moses Oludele Idowu's article now, or commentary. There is one thing about APC that often worries me. There is something about the government of APC that often unsettles and gives me concerns. It's a historical, anti-intellectual, unscholarly, banal and pedestrian attitude and social behavior, which is generally reflected in the government it heads, in its policy initiatives and directives, and even in its motivation, inputs and directives. In short, it is in its attitude and manner now commonplace to act first and think later. Madam Critical Thinking, I hope you're reading this along with us. Let's go. We have a danger on our hands. And this is exactly the reason somebody like me is talking. There is there is a danger that most people cannot see. You will see it as we go on. We have a danger on our hands. We are trapped as a people. Of course, yes, we are trapped. If you can't see it, the only thing I'm going to say is you are probably spiritually blind. If you can't see that we're trapped with all that happens around us, that if you cannot understand that we're trapped, then I'm sorry. Because we have a government and a party that are both averse to intellectual rigor, mental exertions, thorough examination of ideas for long-term implications, and even workability. It is now clear to all who can see. Can you? I don't even know the religious leaning of this man. I've never met him, but he is repeating what I just said now. It is clear to all people who can see. It means that whoever cannot see, then, if it is not clear to you, it means you cannot see. So it is clear to all who can see that APC really thinks about the implications of their policies and really care about the consequences of their policies and the long-term effects of sustainability of what they promulgate as policy framework. Without any planning or study on ground, Muhammadu Buhari, which is the immediate past administration before Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he publicly declared the creation of Nigerian Airlines. Through that precipitate action alone, and for lack of proper and due diligence, Nigeria lost 1 billion naira. This is not my issue anyway, but I have to read everything for context. After many lies and deceits, can you see that? Lies and deceits. And having squandered billions of naira that some government left, that same government, left the stage without a single aircraft and with nothing like Nigeria Air, except in the convoluted and diseased imagination of APC leaders and their unfortunate, thoughtless followers. I'm not going to give any comment on that. I can regale you with several policies and directives of that government of APC showing there was little or nothing of study, rigor, or mental capacity behind them. Nothing. At first, act first, then think later. That is it. Don't think before you act. No intellectual thoughtfulness. That was Buhari government and the APC. It seems it is with that same attitude that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is approaching governance after grabbing, snatching, and running with the presidential victory in the controversial 2023 election. Election in quotes. His first major action reflected APC's standard trademark of act first and think later, when he thoughtlessly and under inspiration, in quotes, removed fuel subsidy by mere announcement without any proper study of the effects, implications, and consequences on the average person, the economy, and the nation at large, and without any buffers or props on which the people, and especially the vulnerable segment of the society, could fall. That singular incident has occasioned the most acute suffering, the most intense hardship on the generality of the population than anything I yet know. I don't need to make any comments. You understand that? In a lifetime of 60 years, this man that is writing is at least 3 years old, 60 years old. So he says, in a lifetime, his lifetime of 60 years, I am yet to see a policy of government that has brought so much suffering, so deepening poverty and privations, acute and terrible hardship on the greatest number of citizens like this one. Today, the government has seen its error and has now reverted to subsidy regime, but the havoc remains and irreparable. It's irreparable. This is the result of acting before thinking. Government policies are not issued and conceived by coming under inspiration. They are worked out based on studies, mental rigor, and deep thinking. There are at least 2 or 3 other instances within the last 1 year of this government showing this tendency to act first before thinking that I am beginning to think it is a trademark of APC. It is against this backdrop that I now move on. I now move on the latest in the baggages of thoughtless policies and directives, the very asinine and wobbly directive that students must attain the age of 18 before being allowed to sit for WAEC or NECO or UTME. This was rolled out few days ago by the Minister of Education. One, Tahir Mamman. Tahir Mamman. We're going to see where this person comes from later. In other words, this directive stipulates that with effect from next year, or is it this year, a child cannot sit for those exams unless he or she is 18. This is the trouble with our government, and especially APC, the party controlling the government. Do they ever think? Is there any study behind what they dish out as policies? Do they examine the workability, the sustainability, or even consequences of what they promulgate as policies? Or, which is worse, is this party and government bent on national subversion of education potentials of a large segment of the population? I hope you understand that. This is where, you see, all the story before, I'm concerned, but that's not I don't want to get involved in such things. I don't want to. However, the man is beginning to take a deep dive into an area where I will be giving my own commentary. So here is it. He said, or, which is worse, is this party and government bent on national subversion of educational potentials of a large segment of the population? We're going to see what he means by that later. Is it that the people who make our policies do not think or cannot think? Just a little thought would have shown that this, I'm coming back to that area, this one, I'll come back here later, this one. But let's continue. Is it that the people who make our policies do not think or cannot think? Just a little thought would have shown that this would lead to nothing but chaos, and if implemented, would destroy the educational foundations of many children. I am troubled at the kind of minds that superintend our educational policies at the highest levels. I am troubled too. I am troubled at the sheer wooden-headedness behind this policy and the tragedy this would bring to many children if implemented. Ronald Reagan's observation of the government is a problem has now found fulfillment in APC and in the Tinubu administration. Let me be very clear. I don't have any political ambitions. I don't care who rules. I've said that before. But you will see where I care. Let's go. Let us examine this policy and see the tragedy it will bring before going into its foolishness. First, consider that most of the children in the final year or semi-final year in most secondary schools today, both private and public, are in their 15th or 16th year of age. If this policy is implemented this year or even next year, it means few students in our private schools will enroll students. I think he wanted to say few schools will enroll students for WAEC or NECO. I know this to be true in the Southwest and in the South in general. It then means many schools and parents may resort to fraud by forging the birth certificates of their children or withdraw the children after completing secondary education to wait at home for another 2 years till they are eligible to write the exams. Do you understand what that means? You understand what it means? Do you get it? The man is asking. A child has been leading the class from even the first year of school and now gets to final year at 16, but cannot write the exams to proceed to the next stage of tertiary education, not because he or she is unwilling or unable, but because a government of bandits has ambushed him with a bad policy, the product of a beclouded, locked-in thinking and confusion. Oh, my goodness. Most children in the South will face this problem. Most of the children in private secondary schools and even public secondary schools will encounter this problem. How does the government intend to solve this needless problem? Think of students getting to final year at the top of the class and being dropped from writing exams because they are under age at 16 or 15. Where will they be going when both parents go to work? Of course, this policy is not meant for a segment of the population where people are actively engaged in profitable ventures. No, it's not. So I'll come back to that. It is a different thing if government is considering a bridging education as a stopgap. Would they start learning a trade after going to school while waiting till they are eligible to write examination? Would they still be smart enough to remember what they learned after 2 years of waiting at home, doing nothing? What then would they be doing at home till they are 18, since there is no Almajiri system in the South? There's no Almajiri system in the South. Or is this government trying to create one with masses of frustrated students? Is the government trying to create an Almajiri system in the South with masses of frustrated students? Educational foundation psychologists and experts tell us that after 5 years of a course of study without any practice to make use of what one has learned and without any refresher courses in the same study, a person lapses back into illiteracy in the area of study. Now think of a student being kept at home after completing secondary school at 15, waiting for 3 years to write exams. I mean, for crying out loud, to write the final exam in the secondary school, not even waiting for admission. Would he still be sound to take the exams again, having largely forgotten what he has learned? Where is this policy leading to? Who is bent on destroying the educational foundations of the South, and especially the West? Here is the deal breaker for me. This is the question. Who is bent? Some people are bent on destroying the educational foundations of the South. There is no way to interpret this. There is no way. When I was in secondary school, over 30 years ago, I should even say about 35 years ago or more, I used to know the Minister of Education as Professor Babs Fafunwa. Professor Babs Fafunwa. It was that man that put in place nearly all the educational systems that you are enjoying today, or that your children are enjoying today. It was Babs Fafunwa that put everything in place, because he was of a sound mind. And I can say that, and I don't know if anybody can argue with this, he is no longer alive anyway. But up to today, there has not been any Minister of Education that has matched his records. Nobody. Show me one. Any Minister of Education after Babs Fafunwa that has matched the records of Babs Fafunwa. Similarly, in the health sector, Professor Olikoye Ransom Kuti, that was still when I was in secondary school. Both of them were serving the same government. Even the military government of Babangida knew very much. That government knew that it needed somebody, a think tank like Olikoye Ransom Kuti in the health sector and Babs Fafunwa in the education sector. But ever since, I don't know what has gone wrong. Since all these, what do they call them? Hajiya this, Hajiya that. Since they have been coming to head the education sector in Nigeria, what have we got? A few years ago, they removed history from our curriculum, from school curriculum, secondary school curriculum. They removed history. The Southwest has woken up and they have restored history. They have restored history. We know what that is leading. We know where it is leading. If you take away history, it is to prevent people from reading and understanding what has happened or what is happening. And so why would a government, why would a Minister of Education remove history from secondary school curriculum? But thank God for the elders, the thinking people in the Southwest who have restored that. I don't know what has happened in other places, maybe South, Southeast, maybe the North, I don't know. But at least in the Southwest, they have brought back history. Here is another minister, Tahir Mama, that is doing something like this. And people are not going to talk. They're going to keep quiet. Let's see. Before now, standard age of admission to universities is 16. Has any university complained to the Minister of Education that her students cannot cope with intellectual rigor? Has anybody complained? I certainly have children who entered into the universities before they are 18. So how come that the Minister of Education is saying that secondary school students cannot write the final year exam if they are not 18 years old? Wow, this is serious. Let's continue. 2, if you look at the pattern of examination results in the last few years, you again see this policy has not been well thought out. Most of the highest scores in both WAEC, NECO, UTME in the last few years have been under 17. And where are they from? The South, of course. The South, of course. And the standard of examination has not lowered. Also, look at most of the first-class awardees from the universities and their age. They are mostly those who got admission at 16. These are facts. These are facts. There's nothing you can do about it. If, therefore, the students are coping at 16 years of age, why extend it to 18, if not a sinister agenda? There is a sinister agenda to destroy and truncate the educational hopes of a section of the country. That's it. That's it. And if you can't see that, it's unfortunate. Let me ask you, why would somebody from a section of the country that doesn't value education so much, why would they be creating policies that are meant to be imposed on the section of the country that values education? Why? For example, if you are not industrialized, like Nigeria is not, and most of Africa, I don't even know any country in Africa that is industrialized. Suppose Nigeria, as backward as she is, suppose she is the one formulating policies to regulate industries in the whole world. What kind of policies will Nigeria formulate? Okay, suppose it is Nigeria that is regulating how companies and technology are to operate in the world. What kind of policies will Nigeria formulate? It will be policies that are within the scope of the vision of Nigerians and Nigerian government. All right? So if you are not experienced in an area, you are not there, you shouldn't be making pronouncements. You shouldn't be the one controlling. And so a section of the country that is educationally backward cannot be dictating for another section that is light years ahead. It's not done anywhere. Only in Nigeria will this kind of thing happen. Only in Nigeria. Let's read forward. Okay. They increased the fees for university education and we didn't complain. We still enroll our children at great sacrifice because we value education. We value education. They introduced students' loan and skew it in such a way that the region that made the least contributions to revenue got the best allocation to her students. And we still didn't complain. Northern students and universities have gotten the largest share of students' loans packaged by this government and government before that. The West got very little, and Southeast is completely cut off, as if it is not part of the Federation. Still, we didn't complain. We still enrolled our children all the same and refused to withdraw them at great personal costs. I'm a testimony to that, what we are paying to keep our children in school. Now a policy must be used to prevent many southern children from education and from the universities. Okay? So what increase of fees won't do, a policy must be invented and enforced to do it. This we shall resist both legally and by all means available. I stand solidly behind this person. And whatever we can do, like I'm doing now, we have to speak up. This is part of it. All right? But with all means possible, without violence, of course. We are not people that are given to violence, killing, raping, maiming. We don't do that. But we're going to intellectually make our case. No government has the right and the power to legislate or promulgate a policy that destroys the future of an entire generation because it is intellectually lazy and cannot think. Is Mamman Tahir's North, in Mamman Tahir's North, government is conducting mass wedding. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Government is in the north, where Mama Tahir comes from. Government is conducting mass wedding, giving 15-year-olds for marriage to procreate children, to swell their population for increased votes during election. Maybe. If he is not aware of this, then he is ignorant. He is ignorant. If he's not aware that such a thing is going on in the North and in Muslim countries all over the world, he is ignorant. If he is aware of it and does not know the implications, then he is mischievous. He is mischievous. What has Minister Tahir done about this and other elites of the North? What have they done? But his worries is to stop 16-year-olds from furthering their educational career. So in Tahir's Nigeria, a 15-year-old can marry and bring forth children, but she cannot write exams or further higher education. Think about that. Critical thinking. Madam, critical thinking. Let's think about this. A 15-year-old can be given in marriage against her wish, against her will. There is nothing she can do. The parents say this. In fact, several years back, a sitting governor in Zamfara married a 13-year-old girl here in Nigeria. 13-year-old girl. And nothing happened. Nobody condemned it. Where was Mama Tahir? Where was he? Okay? But they must stop children from entering school. Let me ask a question here. Which one is more dangerous to that child? To enter school at age 15 or 16, or to write the secondary school examination at age 15 or 16, or to be married off to somebody who probably is old enough to be her grandpa? Okay? Which one is more damaging? Which one is more backward for a nation? To marry off 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, just send them away from home to go and be living with their husband and begin giving birth to children. Which one is more antisocial? Which one is more anti-development? That one, or to allow them to go to school? If not that YouTube, may flag this video, may ban this video. I would have shared with you the story of a girl on video, captured on video, in the North. That girl, maybe around 13 or 14 or 15, I don't know the age, but it can't be more than that, was forcibly given to a man, and the girl ran because she wanted to go to school. She left the place, ran away. Able-bodied men, many of them, captured her, lay her down on bare ground and were beating her with rods mercilessly. I don't know how many people saw that video. It was shared all around on WhatsApp. I don't want, there's a part of the video during the beating, the buttocks of the girl, the hapless girl, the unfortunate girl, were even revealed. And these men, strong men, beating a tender 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girl. Not one, not two, not three of them, several. In fact, about two were pulling her hands in the front, and another two or so were pulling her legs at the back, and about 2 or 3 were flogging her. Flogging her. It's there. What did Minister Mamman, what did you do? What law have you put in place, Minister, to stop child marriage in the North? What have you done? And now what you want to do is to stop the South from educating their own children early enough. What are you doing? Why not come up with a policy that forbids any child from roaming the streets during school hours? How about that? Any child that is not up to 18. Why not say we don't want to see any child on the streets in the South, in the North, anywhere. We don't want to see you. If you are still within the school age, then go to school. You cannot be almajiri, you cannot be roaming. But why not do that? Why not say it is now unlawful, it is now illegal for any parent to give their underage child, underage girl to a grandpa to marry? Why not do that? But no, you won't do that. Look at this policy. What is it meant to achieve? Where will it have the greatest adverse effect? In the South, not in the North. Not in the North. Why are you coming up with policies that are not targeted towards your own people? Why? Why are you targeting other people's children? Because there is an agenda. Because there's an agenda. All right? That is what people don't want to say, but there's an agenda. Let's read on. So if in your government, in your own North, you cannot do anything about underage that have been given out to their grandparents to marry them in the name of religion. Why are you doing this? Okay? So in your own Nigeria, a 15-year-old can marry and bring 4 children, but she cannot write exams. She can't write WAEC. She can't write NECO. She's too young to write exam, but she's not too young to give birth to children. Think about that. Sometimes when I ponder, this man continues, sometimes when I ponder on Buhari and Tinubu's administration, I almost conclude that APC actually means Almajiri People's Congress. You are right, Mr. Moses Oludeledo. You are right. That's what it means. Let us now consider one more fact because I don't want this essay to be lengthy. It's already lengthy. But let's see. I'm enjoying it. Physical age versus maturity. Okay? I do hope that the people in the education ministry know that there is a difference between physical age or natural or biological age of a child and maturity age of the same child. You know that some children at the age 16, they're already mature in mind. They're behaving like they're 20 years, they're 22 years. And somebody can be 20 and is still behaving like a 15-year-old. That's what the man is saying. That is a fact. There's nothing you can do about that. Let us apply critical thinking. Madam Critical Thinker, I'm calling upon you. I want you to make comments on this video. Make comments. Okay? Since you are okay with all these things. In a nation as diverse as Nigeria, a policy with a uniform age that subsumes the entire demographic of a student population with a specific ambit is bound to be counterproductive. Look at it. A 15-year-old northern girl may be bodily or physically stronger than her southern counterpart, but is likely to be less matured and sophisticated than her southern age mate. This is fact. This is fact. It is fact. Put in another way, a 16-year-old child in Lagos may be older in maturity age than his biological age from Zamfara or Katsina, all things being equal. A child could be 15 or 16 and be even more mature than a 20-year-old elsewhere. That's what I've just said. What we should worry about is that a student is emotionally and mentally mature to withstand intellectual rigor and mental exertions of a university education instead of just putting arbitrary obstacles on the path of students. Does this student have the intellectual sophistication and mental adequacy to cope or go through higher education? In real life, what is the difference between an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old? What is it? What is the difference? And the man goes on and on like that. Let me read this. I don't want to. I would have jumped to the conclusion, but I want to go through this whole thing. I'm already over 30 minutes, but let's see. It says, my daughter took the GCE exams at 15 and passed with flying colors. We still kept her in school just to attain the mandatory 16 years before she could write JAMB and gain admission to the university. Her younger brother had to be kept at home for 2 years just to attain the mandatory 16 years before going to the university, even after passing the exams in flying colors. Did you hear that? Now that the age has been extended to 18, I'm afraid that their younger brother, who is always top of the class from primary school, may have to stay at home for possibly 3 years before he is eligible to even sit for the final exam. To sit for the final exam, not to seek admission to the university. Doing what? I have no farm or trade to send him to assist me. That is a tragedy that is loading, which the Tinubu administration is about to unleash on the people of this nation and the future generations. That is what I am worried for these children and many in their class. I am a patriot and I've always fought for Nigeria and its indissolubility and against ethnic nationalities and separatist movements. I have always fought against breakup of Nigeria, not because I get anything from this nation, but I believe that Nigeria has been simply unlucky, and like a woman with a succession of bad and irresponsible suitors, has not been given a chance. He's been thinking about that. Let's see whether he has changed. But today, I must confess that having watched the terrible atrocities and havoc done by the APC administrations in the last 9 years, its pedestrian, anti-intellectual attitudes to governance, its corrupt, illiterate, and self-serving elites, mediocre policies, my faith in this nation is shaking. Mr. Moses Oludele Idowu, or maybe you're a doctor, I don't know. Your own faith is shaking. My own faith is no more in Nigeria. I don't have any. I don't have any. Possibly the promoters of Yoruba Nation and Biafra may know something that I am not seeing and have not been seeing. No, you are right. You are right. There are some things you have not been seeing. Possibly, I too am taking Nigeria too seriously than I should have. In the meantime, I have hope that this policy will be reversed and defeated. It is indeed sad. Indeed, in Nigeria, the government is a problem, not the answer. Good morning, Nigerians. And then he said, follow me. I'll share that. These are his details. WhatsApp. His page is even there, and they even shared it down below in the description box. And so this is the article that I was greeted with this morning. This is the article. And why am I sharing this? Why am I sharing it? Well, I'm sharing it because it's in tandem. It's in line with some things that I said before. Let me refresh your memory, so you will understand what we are saying. This is it.
History that will repeat itself when you come to winning election by the grace of the Almighty Allah. And now we are in democracy, so there is nothing like suspending.
What I'm playing now, it's the program, the plan that was put in place before this government came. And I once shared it, I think in a video that I titled, "You Got What You Asked." And so, Mr. Moses, what you are thinking, what your commentary is all about. Okay, this is it. Let me just share it now. Okay, this is it. This is what is playing out.
It is history that will repeat itself when you come to winning election by the grace of the Almighty Allah. And now we are in democracy, so there is nothing like suspending election. Dr. Abdul Muttalib Muhammad is the leader of the Muslim Leaders Union of the Northern and Southern region. He explained the purpose of holding the conference. Our intention is that we are Muslims and Muslim preachers. That is why we gather the leaders of different sections, leaders of Sangaya, leaders of Zari, and all others in order to sensitize people about this agenda we have in view. That is ensuring that we choose a Muslim and a Muslim, what we call the Muslim ticket. The union we invited are about 75 in number, especially the Izala Union from Kaduna, Izala Union from Jos, Salafia, Kadaria, Tirjaniya, GTI, M1, Form 1, and women in Dawa, together with our Yoruba Muslim brethren that are here, our Igbo Muslim brethren with the union of all Imams of Kano State. We rally round all the unions so that we can have good platform to pass this message. What we show the leaders is that it is not a matter of we are coming to build road. And
did you hear that? This government is not about building roads.
Infrastructure for you.
No infrastructure for you. It's not about education. What is it all about?
Or the promise of giving you position. What?
It's not even about giving you position or job or anything. Yeah, what is it?
What we are talking about is who will establish the dignity of Islam and also uphold the respect of our religion.
You had it. You had it. That is it. There is an Islamization agenda. There is an Islamization agenda. And every method will be utilized, will be employed to get it. No effort will be spared. no effort will be spared to get it done. It is a lifelong battle. You who are silent, who think that you should be pacifists, you should not talk. By the way, there is another video that I plan to share. So let's see what that one is all about. Where is it? Where is it? I think it is this one.
Nigeria was colonized by what country? Great Britain. When we were colonized, who was the queen? Queen Elizabeth. She represents the sovereignty of Great Britain. The queen did not have to come to Nigeria to take Nigeria. The queen said...
So I'm going to skip this and play it from, I think, around this point. Okay, so... Okay, so just listen to this.
The church is bad with stories. We don't know how to tell it, but we know how to listen. So we become victims of any good architect of stories. All the devil needs to do to wipe out a generation is to tell a good story. Let me give you a few examples of stories. Now, we have statistics that have shown us.
Okay, so what I don't know this man also. Somebody sent me this video clip on a WhatsApp group that I belong to, and so I sent a link there. I followed it. I found him on I think on Facebook or something like that, and I listened to it. Christians, listen. Those of you who are saying we should only pray, may God help us, may God help us. Yes, we're praying, but this is your country. If you still believe in it anyway, this is your country, this is your land. And you're going to keep quiet until it eventually happens. Okay? That is what is going to... The church is bad at speaking out. Even if you will be slaughtered. Of course, there are people that have been slaughtered in Nigeria before, and the church, most churches, at least in the church that I attended, it was not mentioned. What happened in Owo, if it happened in... If 1% of that happened in another place, in the same environment, the flag of that nation will be hoisted at half-mast. But in the church that I attend, it was not mentioned. At least in the parish that I belong to, it wasn't mentioned that over 100 people were slaughtered in cold blood during a service in Owo, Nigeria here. Okay? We're bad at... sorry, let me ask. Is that politics? That's not politics. To say that bloodshed is bad. And for no reason. The people who did it, they were jihadists, Muslims. Okay? Am I now taking part in politics by stating that? No, I'm not taking part in politics. I'm simply saying we are humans and that human life should be sacrosanct. But some people don't care. Once you don't belong to their ideology, to their Islamic faith, you are worse than you are worse than an animal, and you deserve to be killed. You deserve to be murdered. And this is the problem that the church has to deal with. It's not only praying. You've got to speak about it. There's freedom of speech. You've got to speak about it. If you actually hope that you will survive. Let's listen.
Only less than 7% of pastors are financially buoyant.
Let me skip this. I want to go to another place where let's see.
Destroyed their homes. More than 80% of pastors' children believe that their father would have been a better man if not for ministry. This is the true story of ministry. What is the projected story? Pastors are big men, members are poor. When people do things that damage their life, they are not fools. But when you advance the cause of the kingdom, you must be a fool. Fantastic story. You don't...
Okay, this is one of the propaganda going on. Blackmailing pastors and saying they're destroying the country. They're destroying the country. Okay, that's a topic for another day. But We'll get to where this man is going.
Fight such story with emotions. The
Okay. This is where you don't fight such stories with emotion. What kind of emotion? Let's see.
church needs to learn what is called counter propaganda strategies.
Yes, the church must learn counter propaganda strategies. When you see propaganda, you have to expose it. You have to speak about it. That is what that means. Let's listen.
That's where we are weak. Are you aware that there is a grand plan to demonetize the church?
Okay. Here is a typical example. Are you aware that there's a grand plan to demonetize, to defund the church? That thing happened a few years ago, and they were making moves, talking about tithes, talking about this, and saying they have to remove pastors that have stayed more than 8 years, more than 10 years, and all kinds of things. Trying to force pastors to step down and leave the place, trying to say we will audit their account and all kinds of things. It is a propaganda machine against the church. Against the church. And you big pastors, this is not politics. This is not politics. This is your country. This is your country. And let's listen to what this man has to say.
Nobody can demonetize the church. Jesus said, I will build my church. The gate of hell can... Shh, you don't know history. It can happen. The revival in Nigeria can never die because Nigeria is the firstborn of God in Africa. God has many sons. And sometimes firstborn can be useless. The 7 churches that John sent those letters to, they are no longer in existence, including the one Jesus commended. Turkey was once the hub of revival. Check what is happening in South Korea. Check what is happening in Europe. In the days of John Wesley, Charles Finley, power of God moved across Europe. Now they're a monument. Nigeria can become a shadow of itself, and is heading there until the new generation understand how to leave noise and stay in the place of counter propaganda strategies. That can't happen if you are not loud. The end time church must fight. It is a war.
Let me say this. When he said the end time church must fight, he doesn't mean carry gun. That's not what he's talking about. He's saying speaking out, countering propaganda, countering plans and programs that are calculated to destroy you, to render you backward. Countering such is something you must see as part of your lifelong battle. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. But to say, no, it cannot happen. Hey, in Jesus' name. Hey. He's giving examples. He's giving examples. Egypt was a Christian nation. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, all those northern African countries, Libya, Somalia, all of them. And when you go to the Middle East, all of them, Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Yemen, Syria, okay? Virtually all of them were Christian nations. What happened? Where are they now? We call them Islamic countries. How did they become Islamic countries? Through propaganda and jihad and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting until they were conquered, until they were subdued. And people have been raising alarm that there is an Islamization agenda in Nigeria. Some people who see it, they're denying it. You are living in denial until it will come. But you know what? God is not going to hold you guiltless. If you are supposed to speak out, if you are supposed to lend your voice of reason, and because of fear, because of your own personal safety, well, I learned something from somebody some years back. Maybe I should even leave that till another time. And so I felt like sharing this thing. Leave your comment down below. Why should a minister of education from a section of the country that is educationally backward, why should he be creating policies that are meant to gag, that are meant to frustrate the progress of another section of the country? The thing is this: Christianity and Western education are synonymous in the mind of an Islamist. I'm going to say it again. Christianity and Western education, they are synonymous in the minds of Islamists. And so when they want to fight Christianity, they must include Western education. They must destroy Western education. What is the meaning of Boko Haram? What's the meaning? It means forbidden education. And look at what has happened in northern schools. So it is, and I think about 2 years ago, when universities went on strike in Nigeria, it was only the private schools in Nigeria, owned largely by Christian organizations, that kept the nation, forward, kept the nation moving. And yet, systematically, you may look at this policy as, well, what is it? It's not that important. There is a deception behind everything that is Islamic. There is a deception behind it. It is a gradual process. It is a gradual process until the whole thing is achieved eventually. I am praying that the Lord Almighty will open your eyes and that you will join in this struggle, not only for yourself, but for generations to come, for the Church of Christ, for light, for progress. All right? That is why we're doing what we're doing. Leave your comment down below. Let me know what you think. Think critically. And by the way, I'm still going to get in touch with this man, Moses. What is it? Moses Oludeledu. Is an elderly man. From what he has written, he should be over 60 years old. I'm going to get in touch with him, and in case he sees this video, I don't mind bringing him to our channel as a guest so that we can discuss this. Thank you, and God bless you.